Hello, this is Destrignir, and once again I'm reading from the Thousand Nights and One Night. However, you must know that this giant tome of tales holds many adult themes like alcohol and rape and incest and necrophilia and a whole bunch of other stuff. So what you hear tonight probably don't exercise in person. And these tales are for amusement, and some of them are allegory, and so on and so forth. And I'm rambling. So this is the end of my disclaimer, and I hope you enjoy listening as much as I enjoy reading this to you. And when the second night had come, Dunyazad said to Shahrazad, "Sister, I pray you finish for us the tale of the merchant and the jinn." To this Shahrazad answered, "With all my heart, and as my duty is, if the king permits." Then the king said, "You may speak." And she said, "It is related, O favored king and lover of justice, that, when the merchant saw the calf weeping, his heart was softened, and he said to his herd, 'Leave this calf to graze among the cows.' The jinn was mightily astonished at this strange tale, and the sheik, master of the gazelle, continued, 'O master of the kings of the jinn, my uncle's daughter, this gazelle, was looking on and said to me, "Certainly we must sacrifice this calf. He is fattened to perfection." But for very pity I could not make up my mind to sacrifice him, and at my order the herd took him again and went away with him. On the next day, as I was sitting in my house, the herd came to me, saying, "Master, I have a joyful thing to tell you, good news worthy of recompense." "Surely," I answered him. Then he said, "Great merchant, my daughter is a sorceress and has learnt magic from an old woman who lodges with us. Yesterday, when you gave me that calf, I brought him with me into the presence of my daughter, and scarcely had she set eyes on him when she covered her face with her veil, first weeping and then laughing. Finally she said to me, 'Has my worth so fallen in your eyes that you let strange men like this come into my presence?' 'Where are these strange men?' I answered, 'and why have you wept and then laughed?' Then she said, 'This is calf with you is the son of our master, the merchant, but he is bewitched. Yes, both he and his mother bewitched by his stepmother. And it was the calf expression of his face on which he laughed. If I wept, it was for the mother of this poor calf, slain by his father.' I was greatly astonished by these words of my daughter, and waited with impatience for the dawn that I might come to tell you. Then, mighty genie," continued the sheik, "hearing the herd's words, I went out with him, drunken without wine, for joy of seeing my son again. When I came to the herd's house, his young daughter welcomed me, kissing my hand, and the calf came and rolled at my feet. Then I asked the herd's daughter, 'Is what you say of this calf true?' And she answered, 'Yes, master, indeed. He is your son, your heart's delight.' Then said I, 'My gentle, helpful child, if you deliver my son, I will give you all the cattle and the goods your father holds me for.' She smiled at my words and said, 'Master, I would only be willing to take these riches on two conditions. The first, that I marry your son, and the second, that I have leave to bewitch and confine whomsoever I wish. Without these things I cannot answer for the good of my inheritance against the evil arts of your wife.' Mighty Jinn, when I heard the words of the herd's daughter, I answered, 'Be it so, and further you shall have the riches which your father holds me for. As for my uncle's daughter, you may dispose of her life as you wish.' When she heard me say this, she took a small copper basin and filled it with water, speaking magic incantations over it. Then she sprinkled the calf with the water and conjured him in these words, 'If Allah made thee a calf, remain a calf. But thou art bewitched, return to thy former shape, by the grace of Allah the Most High.' Even as she spoke, the calf, beginning to tremble and dislimb, returned to human form. I threw myself upon him in a long embrace, and then I asked him in the name of Allah to tell me what my uncle's daughter had done to him to his mother. So he told me all that had happened, and I said, 'My son, Allah, master of destinies, had raised up one to save you and restore your rights.' After this, good genie, I married my son to the herd's daughter, and she by magic arts bewitched my wife, turning her into this gazelle which now you see. Passing by here, I saw this excellent merchant, and asking him what he did, and hearing what had happened, sat down to watch the event. Such is my story." Then the genie cried, "Your tale is marvelous enough, and I grant you mercy for a third of this blood." After this, the second sheik, master of the two greyhounds, came forward, and said, "O mighty Ifrit, if I tell you the adventure which befell me from these two hounds, which are my brothers, and if you find it more marvelous than the tale you just heard, will you grant me mercy for another third of this man's blood?" "Assuredly, venerable sheik," answered the jinn, "if your adventure be indeed more marvelous." So the second sheik began. The tale of the second sheik. "Know, O lord of the kings of the jinn, that these two hounds are my brothers, and I am the third. When our father died, he left us an inheritance of 3,000 dinars, and with my share I opened a shop and began to trade in it. My brothers did the same, but soon one of them set out on a commercial venture and was away with the caravans for over a year. When he returned, he had lost all his money, and I was moved to say to him, "Brother, did I not counsel you against this journey?" Then he wept and said, "Allah, the All-Powerful, allowed this loss of mine, and your words cannot help me now that I have nothing left." Then I brought him up into my shop, and afterwards conducted him to the baths, and gave him a fine robe of rare workmanship. When at last we were sitting down to eat together, I told my brother that I was about to compute the yearly gains for my shop, and that, leaving the capital untouched, I would divide whatever profit there might be equally between us. When, on making my accounts, I found that I had a profit of 1,000 dinars for the year, I gave thanks to the power and greatness of Allah and rejoiced exceedingly. Then I divided the sum equally between my brother and myself, and we dwelt together for many days. But at length both my brothers made up their minds to go on a second journey, and wished me to set out with them. When I declined this invitation, pointing out that the result of their first journey did not tempt me to imitate them, they began to reproach me. But their words were of no avail, and we stayed buying and selling, each in our respective shops, for a whole year. At the end of the year they again proposed a journey, and again I refused, and this went on for 6 whole years. But at last I acceded to their request to set out with them, and suggested that we should count up what money we had. We did so, and found that all came to 6,000 dinars. Then said I, "Let us hide the half of this in the earth to be a help if we encounter ill fortune, and let us take each with us 1,000 dinars to trade with." "May Allah favor your advice," they answered. So taking the money and dividing it, I hid 3,000 dinars, and divided the other 3,000 between us 3. Then we bought merchandise of many kinds, hired a ship, and, placing all we had bound on her, set sail. After a month's voyage, we dropped anchor at a certain city, where we sold our goods at a profit of 10 dinars for one. Then we left the city. When we came down to the seaside, we found there was a woman dressed in old and tattered garments, who approached me and kissed my hand, saying, "Master, can you help me and save me? Will I know how to repay your goodness?" I answered, "Certainly I will help and save you, but you must not think it necessary to repay me." "Marry me then, master," she said. "Carry me with you to your country, and I will pledge my soul to you. Do this for me, for I am of those who know the value of an obligation. Also, I pray, do not be ashamed of my poor condition." When I heard her speak, I pitied her from the bottom of my heart, for nothing comes to pass but Allah wills it. I carried her with me, clothed her in rich garments, and stretched fine carpets for her on the ship. Then, when I had given her a full and cordial welcome, we set sail. As time went on, I grew to love her, and would not be parted from her day or night, preferring her company to that of my brothers. So they grew jealous of me, envying me of my riches and the beauty of my possessions. They cast greedy eyes on all that I had, and plotted my death and the theft of my money. Satan made this plan seem good to them. One day, as I lay sleeping by my wife's side, they stole up to us and cast us both into the sea. My wife woke in the water, and suddenly, changing her shape, became an ifritah. Then she took me upon her shoulders, and carrying me to an island, left me and disappeared for the whole night. In the morning she returned and said, "Do you not know me? I am your wife. I was who held you up and saved you from the death by Allah's grace. Know now that I am a jinniyah, that when first I saw you my heart loved you, for Allah willed it so, and I am a believer in him and his Prophet, whom he may bless and keep. Even when I came to you in poor state you were willing to marry me, and now in my return I have saved you from death in the water. As for your brothers, I am enraged against them, and must kill them." Astonished by her words, I thanked her heartily. "But as for killing my brothers, this thing must not be," I said, and told her all that had happened between us from the beginning to end. When she had me out, she said, "Tonight I will fly to them and sink their ships so that they die." Then I said, "Allah be with you, do not do this thing. The Master of Prophets has said, 'You who have helped the unworthy know that the wicked man has in his wickedness punishment enough. And whatever they have done, they are still my brothers.' 'No, I must kill them,' she said, and I begged her clemency in vain. She took me on her shoulders, and, flying through the air, set me down upon the terrace of my house at home. I opened the door of my house, and lifted the 3,000 dinars from their hiding-place. Then, after making the customary visits of greeting, I opened my shop and stocked it anew with goods. When night came, I shut my shop, and, entering my own house, found these 2 hounds tied up in a corner. When they saw me, they rose weeping and caught hold of my garments. At that moment my wife ran up to me, saying, "These are your brothers." When I did ask her who had done this thing to them, she answered, "I did. I asked my sister, who is far more deeply learned in enchantments than I am, and she changed them into these forms, out of which they cannot come again until 10 years have passed." That is why, O powerful genie, that I happen to be in this place, because I am on my way to my sister-in-law to beg her to deliver these poor creatures now that 10 years have passed. When I came here, I saw this good merchant, and, after hearing his tale, wished to remain and witness that would happen between him and you. This is my story. Truly a remarkable tale, the genie said. For it I grant you mercy on a third of this blood which is forfeit to me. Then the third sheik, master of the mule, came forward and said to the genie, I will tell you a tale more marvelous than either of these, for if you will grant me mercy for the rest of the blood which is forfeit to you. Let it be so, answered the genie. And the third sheik said, The tale of the third sheik. Thou Sultan, O thou chief of this jinn, this mule, which you see, was once my wife. A time came when I had been far away on a journey for a whole year. When at last my business was finished, I returned by night and found her lying with a black slave on the carpets of my bed. They were talking, laughing, and kissing, and exciting each other with little games. As soon as my wife saw me, she sprang up and came towards me, snatching up a pitcher of water. She whispered a few words over the pitcher and sprinkled some of the water upon me, saying, Come out from thy proper shape and put on the form of a dog. At once I became a dog, and she chased me from the house. I wandered about the city, and, coming at last to a butcher's shop, went near and began eating the bones. When the master of the shop saw me, he lifted me and took me with him to his house. When the butcher's daughter saw me, she veiled her face because of me, saying to her father, Is this the way to behave, to bring a man with you into my presence? Where is this man you speak of? Asked her father, and she answered, This dog is a man. It is a woman who has bewitched him, and I am able to save him. Save him then, my daughter, in Allah's name, said her father. She took a pitcher of water, and, after speaking certain words over it, sprinkled a few drops upon me. Come out from this shape, and return to thy former appearance. So I returned to my former appearance, and, kissing the young girl's hand, I told her I had ardently wished to bewitch my wife, as she has bewitched me. Then the butcher's daughter gave me a little of the water, telling me, if I found my wife asleep, to sprinkle her, and that she would become whatever I wished. So, finding her asleep, I sprinkled her with water, saying, Leave this shape and put on the form of a mule. And forthwith she became a mule, as you may see with your own eyes, O Sultan and chief of all the kings of the jinn. Then the genie, turning to the mule, asked her, Is this true? At which she nodded her head, as if to say, Yes, it is true. This tale made the genie tremble with pleasurable emotion. Here Shahrazad saw the approaching of the morning and discreetly fell silent. Then her sister Dunyazad said, Sister, your words are sweet and gentle and pleasant to the taste. And Shahrazad answered, Indeed, they are nothing to which I would tell both of you tomorrow night if I were still alive and the king thought good to spare me. On this the king said to himself, By Allah, I will not kill her until I have heard the rest of her remarkable tale. Then the king and the Shahrazad spent the remainder of the night in each other's arms, till the king departed for the council. The vizier and the others of the court came in, and, when the diwan was full of people, the king gave judgment, raising some and abasing others, concluding cases and giving commands, until the fall of the day. At length the diwan rose, and King Shahryar returned to his palace.